right. Hello and welcome to the Cspan Review. My name is Mike, and today is June 13th. We are going to review we're going to review Open Forum 1 and 2 back-to-back together. So this is the first time we've done this. The ultimate goal is to do the entire 3-hour show. So the reason we do the review is it proves that we watched it. The daily breakdown shows us what we think mattered. So we'll go ahead and get into it. Today is our opening topic is your top story of the week. It's typical fare for a Saturday. That's usually their opener. And today's host is Mimi Geerges, number 7. And the reason she's number 7 is according to the list I've compiled, she's the 7th hired. So all right. Now we'll get right into the main review.
Good morning. It's Saturday, June 13th, and we want to hear your top news story of the week. There's plenty to choose from. President Trump declared a, quote, great settlement with Iran, but clashes continued overnight. New inflation numbers show consumer prices up 4.2% annually, a 3-year high, driven largely by energy costs tied to the Iran conflict. FISA Section 702, the government's warrantless surveillance authority, expired at midnight last night for the first time ever, after Congress failed to agree on a reauthorization. President Trump is now nominating Manhattan U.S. Attorney Jay Clayton to lead the intelligence community after his earlier pick of housing regulator Bill Pulte drew bipartisan criticism. And Elon Musk became the world's first trillionaire on paper after SpaceX priced its IPO yesterday at $135 a share. We want to hear your top news story of the week and why. Republicans, call us on 202-748-8001. Democrats, 202-748-8000. And Independents, 202-748-8002. You can send a text to 202-748-8003. Include your first name and your city, state. And you can find us on social media, facebook.com/cspan and X at CSpanWJ. Welcome to today's Washington Journal. Let's start with Iran, and this is CBS News. A final agreed-upon text of U.S.-Iran peace deal has been reached, according to Pakistan, and here's what to know. Pakistan's prime minister said a final agreed-upon text of a U.S.-Iran peace deal has been reached, and that Pakistan, a key mediator in the Iran war, quote, is now working closely with both sides to finalize the next steps. Iran's foreign minister said a deal has, quote, never been closer, and that details of a memorandum of understanding with the U.S. will be shared publicly in due course. U.S. Central Command reported late Friday that it intercepted multiple one-way attack drones that were launched by Iran in an attempt to strike commercial ships transiting the Strait of Hormuz. And President Trump said earlier Friday that Iranian state media's description of an agreement has nothing to do with the terms that were agreed to in writing. Well, here is President Trump in the Oval Office on Thursday after calling off additional strikes on Iran and saying that the end to the Iran war was near.
We just made a great settlement of the war with Iran, and we're going to be subject to finalization of documents. We should get done
totally the best
in the next few days. We'll probably have a signing maybe in Europe, and it's a great thing. Stock market's up 1,000 points. That means they like the deal. See, that means they like. If the market goes down, that means they don't like the deal. But it's been up. Oil's dropped. Oil will start coming down to, I think, even lower than it was before. I said I was in Iowa. It was $1.85 a gallon. And I don't know if I'm going to get there, but we're going to get pretty close. It's going to come down, and when oil comes down, everything else comes down. And most importantly, we have a deal that Iran will never have a nuclear weapon, which was the whole purpose of what we had to go through to get this. So it was a big, very big thing. But we have a signing soon, and the documents are in pretty final shape. So we'll see. We'll see. Very good. Should be done.
Very good.
It should be done pretty quickly. They want it every bit as much as everybody else wants it. And I think a lot of good relationships can ensue from this. I just spoke with the leaders of many of the countries that were mentioned in the release. I just spoke to Bibi. I spoke to the great heads of nations, Qatar, UAE, Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, Kuwait, and others. And we're going to be talking to Turkey. President Erdogan is great. And it's really a wonderful thing with a lot of spirit. Pakistan was fantastic. The Prime Minister and I call him the general. He's a general. He's a great general. He's so great that he's actually a field marshal. The greatest general. Step above.
He's the greatest general.
And they're all very happy. The whole Middle East is happy. And long beyond the Middle East, the Strait will open as soon as we have it signed.
We're getting your top news story of the week. Here is another news item for you from the Washington Post. Workers begin removing Trump's name from the Kennedy Center. It said after courts knocked down attempts to delay the signage change, the Kennedy Center missed the Friday deadline to remove President Donald Trump's name by midnight. The article says this: with the removal of 18 letters, the Donald J. Trump and the building's exterior will read the John F.
C-SPAN found it fit to live stream that for 5 to 6 hours with minimal commentary, if any. It was just a bunch of people with Trump derangement syndrome out there watching things get torn down. Typical. Like when they complain about the reflecting pool being cleaned and refurbished and the fountains cleaned and the fountains working for the first time in 20 years. People complained about it. You know, it's the 250th anniversary of this country. Can we have some pride? Why is being patriotic and clean a bad thing? These Democrats, I'm telling you.
Kennedy Memorial Center.
Just so you know, this is like watching a baseball game. I have a team. I can yell at the refs, but I call balls and strikes as far as the data. Like the calls, the states can't mess that up. Okay, that's objective facts.
For the performing arts once more. Trump's name had been on the facade 476 days, a dramatic change to the 55-year-old memorial to an assassinated president. It says around midnight, the center filed a request to extend the deadline to noon, saying storms had delayed the work, capping a day of construction work and a flurry of legal.
You know what that live stream was? It was 5 hours of these guys putting scaffolding or putting up a tent around that scaffolding. It's so stupid.
Maneuvering. A crowd had gathered in front of the arts venue to watch the results of a lawsuit brought by Representative Beatty of Ohio, an ex officio trustee who sued her fellow trustees for adding Trump's name to the title of the Kennedy Center. And we will go now to calls. Let's start with Ray, Ithaca, New York, Republican.
Here we go.
Good morning, Ray.
Good morning. For me, the top news story was the nomination of Graham Plattner in Maine for Senate. Never in my life did I think that we would nominate for either party a man that had a Nazi tattoo, the same tattoo worn by concentration camp guards, the very worst one you could possibly get.
Yep.
I do trust that there.
Not your regular old swastika, but a Totenkopf, the death camp guard tattoo. Yeah, when he just made a mistake and wore it on his chest for 18 years.
The good people of Maine, and including a lot of good Democrats, will reelect Susan Collins. I just can't believe that that this man could possibly be elected in a general election.
Okay, and here's some news for you, Ray, on that from Politico. This Hunter Biden defends Graham Plattner on Newsom podcast. It says the California.
What an endorsement that is, right? A womanizing crackhead endorses a womanizing Nazi.
California governor's latest provocative podcast guest argues Plattner's appeal will outweigh the scandals surrounding him. That's an article at Politico. This is Ralph, Democrat in Michigan. Hi, Ralph.
Yeah, the news out of Michigan would be a big endorsement for Abdul Saeed, who's a Democrat running for the U.S. Senate race. There are two other candidates in this Democrat candidates in this race.
The
UAW,
all the Muslims up there in
the Auto
Michigan.
Workers Union endorsed Abdul Saeed, who's the more liberal candidate for Senate in Michigan. And the UAW also endorsed Jocelyn Benson for governor. But the big controversy here in Michigan is this AIPAC, the American-Israeli Political Action Committee, dumping large amounts of money into Democratic primaries. And they are backing, this AIPAC group is backing Haley Stevens for Senate. And there's a lot of people that don't like the Iran war. They don't like Israeli policy. They don't like what's going on in Gaza. And so the Michigan Senate race is going to be a lot between Abdul Saeed, who's liberal, and then Stevens, who is more hawkish, more pro-Israel, more pro-war, etc. So that was a big endorsement for Abdul, I thought.
All right.
Abdul.
And here is John Dunn, North Carolina, Republican. Hi, John.
How you doing today?
Good.
Look, let's start out with Donald Trump and the Iran war. I don't know what's wrong with that man's mind, but you cannot trust them Iranians' regimes when they sign a contract or anything. They can't be trusted. Next thing is, the Iranian war has been going on too long. And Trump is making the mental incapacitated people look smart compared to him. That's all I got to say.
Hold on, John. So on the one hand, you're saying you cannot make a deal with the Iranian regime because you can't trust them. On the other hand, you're saying it has gone on for too long. So how do you suggest the president end it now that it has started, obviously?
It's simple. I'm the type of person, that's why I don't like baseball, because it's got 3 strikes. No, just do away with them completely. I mean, bomb the hell out of them and be done with it. I mean, blow up the power plants and everything. The only thing I hate is the people up there against that Iran regime. We ought to be some way we can get weapons in there for them people to take over that country.
And had you been a supporter of President Trump before the Iran war?
I voted for him, and I didn't know that...
Bill.
I just honestly believe the man is not getting enough blood flow to his brain. Because when you don't get blood flow to your brain, you can't think.
All right. Okay. Let's hear from Martha in Pennsylvania. Line for Democrats. Good morning, Martha.
Hey, good morning, Mimi. Just to address the previous caller for a minute, if Iran is such a horrible, horrible country and such a bad regime, why did the Reagan administration sell them weapons in the Iran-Contra affair? Wouldn't that be treasonous? But anyhow, my main topic is the weaponization fund. I think it would be very helpful if Washington Journal archived the speech that Donald Trump gave on January the 7th. He talked about prosecuting the perpetrators to the fullest extent of the law. So that speech kind of invalidates his weaponization. And second, people already...
She's a frequent flyer, so we need to make sure I'll mark her, and she's going to go on to our revolving cast of characters that will soon evolve into the show.
Excuse me a minute. People already have the ability to sue the government for wrongful prosecution. This isn't a new thing. Go back to the Central Park 5. Central Park 5 were convicted of raping and killing a Central Park jogger, but then DNA evidence found them innocent sometime later, and the Central Park 5 were given money because of wrongful prosecution. So this has always been possible for people to do. As far as I'm concerned, this weaponization fund is just to placate Donald Trump supporters because he didn't pardon them before he left office in January 2021.
And so, Martha, regarding your point about archiving speeches, we do have all of that on our archives. If you go to c-span.org and there's a search box there, you can put in whatever you're looking for.
Yeah, but I think it would be helpful to remind everybody watching the show how many people are actually going to do that. I think it would be helpful to remind everybody what Donald Trump said on January 7th.
All right. And it's right there on our screen.
Martha.
And
you can
we'll go to Sherman, Opelika, Florida, Independent.
Yes, hello, how you doing?
Good. How's it going out there in Florida?
Oh, it's going. I just want to, we have this war on fraud thing that's going on throughout the whole United States of America right now, right?
We have this whole what,
Sherman?
We have this whole war on fraud that's going on throughout the United States of America right now.
Okay.
So my name is Sherman Ballard, and I am actually the whistleblower that initiated this procurement fraud of the state of Florida. When President Trump, in a cabinet meeting on the 27th, spoke about hundreds of billions of dollars going out to the taxpayers getting taken advantage of. When he's speaking about that, he's actually speaking about my case, and I want to give two case numbers that are publicly verifiable that you guys can have.
We're going to do that
in the event that something happens to me, because what's going on now is Hello, you there?
Yes, we're listening. Go ahead, Sherman.
Come on, Sherman.
Okay. So what's going on now is they are delaying actually returning them credits that from the procurement fraud. So the only reason I'm calling is because I feel that my days are numbered. See, they tell you, oh, we want you to come forward.
They're coming to get me.
To speak. We don't want you to just take your money and run and leave out the country. Oh, that's exactly what I'm going to do, because the threats I've been receiving.
Threats from who, from who, Sherman? Who's threatening you?
The government itself. So what we have is, if you go into like the Pacer account, you'll see in the Southern District of Florida, the case number is 025 CV 60050MD. And then the Court of Appeals case is the 11th Circuit in Georgia, and that is 25-142928. And what's going on here with this procurement fraud?
Okay, Sherman, I wrote those down. We're going to find out in the Daily Breakdown.
Sherman? Yeah.
Yes.
Keep going. What's going on right now?
Look at that right
What's going on with the procurement fraud is they made all these announcements, but what they have in place right now is these gag orders. So I reach out to journalists. I reach out to, and I'm sure I'm not the only person that's getting death threats behind this claim, because there's so much value that's moving through this government right now. And when President Trump said, okay, we're going to help, bring families back together. So what I did this morning is I went and I tagged the president, I tagged the vice president, I tagged the White House, and I said, this is my account right here. My account is negative $21 right now. Now, they know they have the value already, and it's sitting at the Supreme Court. And I told them, I say, this is a matter of life and death. So the Attorney General out of Florida issued a subpoena ducis tecum. So when he issued that subpoena ducis tecum, it it triggered all of the NGOs that's getting kickbacks, all of the judges. These people are sitting at home right now, paid vacations. I'm here with my daughter. My grandmother just died not too long ago. I have to move out because this house is being sold. But when that subpoena ducis tecum got issued, what happened next is the state of Florida, they issued a House bill called House Bill 905.
So Sherman, I'm afraid I'm having trouble following all that. But we heard what you said, and we heard those cases. For anybody interested in looking those up, John in Douglasville, Pennsylvania, Republican, you're on the air.
Hey, good morning. Yes, I just calling about Elon Musk just made $1 trillion, or I think it was $1.5 trillion after everything got settled. But anyway, all I'm asking, I got a point here that, way back in the 80s, they start talking about they're going to have to cut Social Security because they can't fund it no more. And people said, stop foreign aid. And then they said, well, it's only like 1 or 2% we give to foreign aid. So two things. One, if they would have stopped the foreign aid back then in the 80s, we would have had the money. Two, if they take the cap off, 160, 180, whatever, 180,000, after that, the rich people don't have to pay Social Security. I got to pay Social Security tax on every penny I make. Now, if Elon Musk made over $1 trillion and he paid Social Security tax, this 15% or whatever it is, nobody would ever have to worry about Social Security again. And one more thing before I go. I like you to ask whatever representative, Democrat or Republican that comes in that you interview, ask them if they take money from AIPAC, because it's a big circle. We give them billions, and they give the representative millions in their campaign. Thank you.
And so, John, just on your point about Elon Musk and the cap, so I think he's gone, but that cap only applies if you're making income. So that's not on wealth that he's generating from his investment. So here is the front page of the Wall Street Journal. SpaceX soars in record debut. It says largest initial public offering in history. Mints Musk as the world's first trillionaire in blockbuster day on Wall Street. That is the front page of today's Wall Street Journal.
And everybody acts like Elon Musk is some extravagant spender. Bezos has the, that 200 or 300 foot yacht that they had to move a bridge so he could get under it. But all Elon Musk has done is preserve free speech, try to help people with neurological problems, basically have satellite communication anywhere on the globe to the poorest and most needed areas, especially during Ukraine. Remember hurricanes in North Carolina? But this guy is, Elon has created more things than most people in their whole lives. It's unbelievable. He caught a rocket with chopsticks. That's worth $1 trillion. There's no way our government could do that. There's no way. Without spending 4 to 5 times that.
Kendall in Washington, D.C., Democrat. Hi, Kendall.
Hey. Hello.
Hey, go ahead. What's your top news story?
You had a story or a poll that you took yesterday about asking if people prefer security versus privacy in Trump's new dealing with Trump's new appointment to.
There's our Maryland caller.
National security.
Always at least one or two Maryland or DC callers.
Yesterday really pinned it or nailed it on the head when he said that security is privacy. And the question is an okie doke. It was the wrong question to be asking. It was like people were asking that question back in 2001. Do you prefer privacy or security. And, the poll being taken, people get tricked into answering that when they are the only security that you have is privacy. The only, you don't pay somebody to secure your privacy. They'll take advantage of you. I mean, what was it Benjamin Franklin that said that if you don't stand up for your rights, that you essentially don't have any. And
so Kendall,
butchered that. It said, Ben Franklin said, if you give up a little bit of your freedom for security, you deserve neither.
FISA did expire yesterday at midnight. So are you happy about that? How are you feeling about that?
Well, kind of. I have mixed feelings about it. I think FISA going through proper channels was okay. FISA just giving carte blanche to triple-letter agencies to create fusion centers and do whatever they want with your phone data and your demographic information is not okay. It's not okay for companies like Intellius to have your data sold to anybody that will pay them $1 online.
Okay, so let me give you the other side of that and get your reaction, Kendall, which is this information that's being collected by FISA is Americans contacting people overseas that the U.S. government is tracking for security reasons. Does that change anything for you? It's not just any American citizen.
That's a false statement right there. First of all, just because you're talking to somebody in Dubai or in Iran doesn't mean you're talking to a terrorist. I mean, come on. What happens to get a warrant to get somebody's information? The idea of giving somebody carte blanche because somebody's from another country is both this. I mean,
but you actually don't need a warrant for the non-American, right? You would for the American.
Yeah.
You should be.
You don't need one for the non-American. You can spy on him all you want, but if we get you wrapped up, well, we don't need a warrant for that, is what they're saying. And I just totally disagree with this. I think that it was abused under Obama and Biden, and God knows it's probably being abused under Trump. So it's already been abused. We don't need it. We don't need secret spying on American citizens. It's just, and they say, like John Thune saying, 90% of all the fentanyl that we've caught has been because of FISA. Come on. How can he prove that to us? And that's just 90%. Give me a break. It's pretty bold.
A warrant for everyone, American or non-American.
Okay.
This idea of preemptive warfare or this idea of, we can tap this guy's phone because he's from, Pakistan. That's bogus.
Okay, let's hear from Senator Ron Wyden. He's a Democrat of Oregon. He was on the Senate floor Thursday talking about FISA.
I'm offering again to extend Section 702 of FISA for 5 weeks and give the public more facts about how these surveillance powers have been abused. Defenders of the status quo seem to think that there's already enough transparency around government surveillance.
Look at
so
this
let me
old
be
decrepit
very
piece
specific
of crap.
About what the bill that I'm now proposing would do. It would require more public disclosure about violations of our surveillance laws, including Section 702. It would require more public disclosure about warrantless searches targeting politicians, journalists, and religious leaders. This particular category of searches more than tripled in 2025, and the FBI has refused to explain why. It would require more public disclosure about warrantless surveillance of Americans outside of FISA, which the public knows virtually nothing about. And it would require the executive branch to redact and release a March 2026.
Does anybody really think that this guy has a real grasp on what's going on? he just reads what all these staffers and probably this guy that's down here in this in the bottom right corner or bottom left corner has written for him. You know, same as Schumer and all the rest of them. They just they're almost it's just like they're playing senators.
FISA court ruling that found serious violations affecting Americans' rights. The executive branch is already required, Mr. President, to release this ruling eventually.
Senator from Oregon has
this guy
consistently tried to kill this program.
They won't pass the SAVE Act that almost 80% of Americans, Democrat, Republicans, Independents, think that you should have an ID to vote, and it should not be mail in for a month. This guy. But when it comes to spying on you without a warrant, man, they get upset, don't they? They got time for this, that they don't have time to secure our elections.
And has never believed in, has never voted for it. And it is a program that makes Americans more safe. That is a proven fact. You ask any intelligence expert, any military planner in this country, the intelligence derived from the 702 program is something that has saved American lives in theaters of conflict, preventing terrorist attacks, preventing drug runners from getting drugs into this country. 90% of the fentanyl disruptions coming into this country were stopped because of this program.
Bullshit. Probably a wall.
This is a program that saves American lives. And I have to ask the question, I mean, I can't for the life of me figure out why the Democrats...
With Republicans like Thune, why do we need Democrats?
...continue to support policies that make this country less safe.
That was Senator Thune responding to Senator Wyden there.
He's worried about the America being safe, but has no time to secure the election.
About FISA. We'll actually have a segment on that coming up at 8 Eastern time on FISA and the intelligence community. Let's talk to John, Ballston Spa, New York, Independent Line. What's your top news story of the week?
Ballston Spa.
It's just our interaction with Iran. And this is a fact. It was 1957, Dwight D. Eisenhower gave Iran nuclear capability. They trained their scientists. He gave them enriched uranium. He did that. That's something he did. Ronald Reagan then does the Iran-Contra affair, which was illegal, and he armed them. And then he supports, and he supports Iran. In the hostage taking of all these, so we flip flop among these, and then now you have him coming out and you say, well, Obama gave them pallets of U.S. cash, and it was money that was owed to them. But the conflict is not only with Iran; it's how
billions
we
of money.
even treat our own folks. In 1945, we went to war to stop the oppression of the Jewish folks from Hitler, as we fought with segregated troops, as we oppressed our own blacks here in the United States. It's always a series of contradictions
Hitler reference.
in what we do,
Check.
and that's why we
It's almost
can't
one
be
every
trusted
single
worldwide.
show.
That's why we have no credibility worldwide.
That'll be on the
and
checklist.
that's why there's such division here in our own country. There are people that have absolutely no idea that Trump deranged syndrome was actually coined in like 2001. It was Bush deranged syndrome. They have no idea that living rent-free in your head was actually a quote from columnist Ann Landers. And the biggest one of all, Ronald Reagan's 1980 campaign was Let's Make America Great Again. All of those things have been perverted to form a platform to even further divide the country. We will never get along worldwide, and we'll never get along in our own country. The division is just, it's there. There is no desire to have peace. When Congress tells you, oh, we'll do this, they only work 165 days a year. So how is somebody going to run for office and say, I'm going to change things, I'm going to fix things, when there's no term limits? And again, you're only working 165 days a year, and you're handling...
Got that point. Right. Bob, Republican, Baldwinville, Massachusetts. Good morning.
Oh, good morning. Well, I want to talk about the SPLC this morning because in Congress they were a riot to watch. But before I do that, I got to give a shout out to the New Continent of Europeistan and the new states of Francistan, Germanistan, and Britanistan. They've overrun themselves with Muslims so much they don't even have a country anymore. Same thing's happening here in America. But if anybody saw the SPLC lawyer yesterday, or this week, I should say, the 9th, I think it was, in Congress, what a disgrace that guy was. Oh, my God. They are funding the hate that all of the Democrats and all the Republicans that want to fight against, they're funding it. And no one is paying attention to that. And the guy's answers for every question were, well, that's being sorted out in court, and that's not true. No, it is actually all true. How can you pay the KKK to do the riots? I mean, Charlottesville, the Democrats always use Charlottesville as a pointer to where the Republicans are bad. Oh, the SPLC sent that guy. Isn't that lovely? So, I mean, really. And wait a minute, Act Blue. The president of Act Blue sitting on the stand and taking the Fifth Amendment 100 or whatever times. Wow, we're not all guilty, are we? Of course we are. We can't say anything because we're guiltier than crap.
Okay, and Bob, let me go ahead and show people what you're talking about. SPLC, which is the Southern Poverty Law Center, was in front of Congress. It says, Fox says their tax-exempt status is under scrutiny as Congressman accuses the group of act of fraud. It says that was Representative Mark Harris of North Carolina. Republican makes a case that while raking in millions under the guise of fighting hate, the SPLC showed a clear pattern of targeting conservatives on its infamous hate map while funding the activities of actual extremist groups like the KKK, as alleged in a Department of Justice indictment. The caller also mentioned Act Blue. Here is a portion from Wednesday. This is Regina Wallace-Jones, CEO of Act Blue. It's a Democratic fundraising platform responding to questions about her organization's fundraising.
In 2023, I sent you this letter with 5 straightforward questions with a goal of confirming that foreign funds are not in our elections and that Act Blue had adequate fraud prevention measures in place. You replied a month later with a 4-page letter describing your fraud prevention policies and procedures that you had in place at Act Blue. But according to the New York Times, your response to this committee may have been false and misleading. Ms. Wallace-Jones, when you signed this letter to me, did you believe that this letter was false and misleading?
On the advice of my counsel, I respectfully decline to answer this question pursuant to my Fifth Amendment rights under the Constitution.
Ms. Wallace-Jones, before you sent this letter, did you believe, was it brought to your attention that this letter that you sent me was false and misleading?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer the question pursuant to my Fifth Amendment rights under the Constitution.
Well, I think it's important for everybody here to know that according to the New York Times, you've been aware for quite a while that the response you made was likely false or misleading. Did you ever consider correcting the record for this committee when it was brought to your attention that your letter to me was false and misleading?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer the question pursuant to the attorney-client privilege and my Fifth Amendment.
Remember when the Manafort or any of these people that took the Fifth? Oh, it's guilty. You're guilty.
Rights under the Constitution.
It's pretty interesting. So now you're following the advice of your legal counsel, but you didn't when they warned.
Which is also your right. And if you're ever in front of these people or the cops or anything, after they've read you your rights or given you an oath, don't say a word, because all they're doing is looking for some way to catch you.
Warned you that your letter to me was false and misleading.
We're getting your top news story of the week. Here is Jerry in Livingston, Tennessee. Democrat, good morning.
In my call this morning.
Oh, Jerry.
My top story is the economy, the inflation.
Jerry's a repeat caller, at least twice a month. So we need to highlight old Jerry. Make sure he gets flagged.
And I keep talking about electing, nominate that Plackner or
Mush
whatever
mouth,
David
Jerry.
Epper gets sued and called. I tell you what got him elected or nominated is that the woman that was running against him is the same old establishment thing. And you got Susan Collins up there, and all she ever says is, well, it's disturbing, but she goes along and votes free, which votes to cut Social Security into big, beautiful bills. She votes to take away health care. She votes to take away jobs. That's what's got him in it. And to talk about it, and I ain't a supporter of his at all, believe me. But look at Ken Paxton down in Texas. Look at that man. He is terrible. He's one of the most corrupt, probably the most corrupt politician that I've ever been around. But the big story is the economy. Inflation was up this week, and the way things are going right now with the war and everything else, these tariffs are just killing things. You know, we need to get rid of this stuff. We need to tax the wealthy. But this economy is fine, Davey, if you're like Elon Musk, who makes all this money. Now, I'm down here in a little place where people's got to work. And now they're talking about cutting the TIG off down here, which is a big, you know, it's kind of like Medicaid. It's what it is, just a state-run thing. And
a state-run thing, most likely paid by the federal government.
Our churches, I tell you, I'm so disappointed in our churches, the way that they're standing huddled up around a convicted felon. But the big thing, like I said again, is people are suffering. I wish you could just do more on that. And when you talk about Plackner, I wish you'd talk about the fellow down in Texas, too, because, no, they're not people that we need, but what's got them not.
Does Ken Paxton have a Nazi tattoo? No, I don't think so.
It's the same old stuff up there in Maine. I'm telling you, Susan Collins has always said it's disturbing. That's what she's disturbing.
All right, Jerry, we got that. So let's go back to what you were saying
Jerry.
about the economy. Here is Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer on Wednesday talking about the May inflation report. Here he is.
This morning's inflation numbers reaffirm what the American people already know. Trumpflation is getting worse and worse with no end in sight.
He also looks like the penguin.
Trumpflation hit 4.2% last month, a 3-year high. Another month of Trump's illegal Iran war. Another month of Trump's tariffs. Another month of Republican control of Congress. And what does America get? A new all-time high for Trumpflation. Just about everything is getting more expensive. In the past year, the price of fresh produce has gone up 6%, meat 7.6%, electricity 6%, airfare 26.7%, and gasoline by a staggering 40.5% increase. Is it any wonder that polling this week found that 70% of American voters disapprove of Trump's handling of the cost of living? That number includes a whole lot of Republicans. Donald Trump promised to lower costs on day one. But nearly 17 months since taking office, he and his MAGA majorities in Congress haven't lifted a finger to lower American costs. But let's be clear. Republicans aren't just failing to address the affordable crisis, they're making it worse.
No clarity at all.
Actively making it worse. Republicans are driving up costs with their expensive tariff tax, with their disastrous war with Iran, that's leading to record-breaking gas prices, with their trillion-dollar cut to health care, and with the rest of this radical, hard-right agenda that so misserves the American people. Trump's tariffs have cost American families more than $1,700 a year on average. American families have had to pay an additional $750 on average during these past few months just to meet the skyrocketing costs of gasoline because of the Iran war. And instead of focusing on helping Americans weather this dire financial moment, Republicans are helping Donald Trump get even richer. As Americans' costs go up, Donald Trump keeps putting his hand into the till to make money for himself and his families. Republicans are more concerned with Trump's golden ballroom than with helping America afford housing. Republicans would rather give taxpayer-funded payouts to Trump and his cronies through his MAGA slush fund than help Americans put food on the table. Republicans continue to fight for Trump and his corruption rather than lower costs for working.
And it's your top news story regarding what you just heard. This is the New York Times headline. Wages are falling, wealth is surging. No wonder Americans are unhappy. It says as Elon Musk became the world's first trillionaire, workers are facing higher prices and fears of AI-driven job losses.
New York Times. And remember, we assign numerical views to all these scores. We'll go over that in the daily breakdown.
Chris, Bellwood, Nebraska, independent.
If you're made it this far, 45 minutes into this video, please like, subscribe, and share this. And comment down below if you think that this is good, bad, or things I could do better. I really appreciate it. I'm trying to make this a full-time thing, so all your support really, really, really matters. Even just one like or a comment, it matters. It really matters. So thank you for all to y'all that are returning to watch.
Line, you're on the air.
Good morning, Mimi.
Morning.
I have sort of a two-part question. First of all, if our cost of living has went up 4.2%, and yet if you're on Social Security like me, even though it's not my only income, we only received 2.8% for the year. That doesn't add up very well year to year. We need to quit giving billions of dollars to foreign countries that don't do anything back for us in return. My second observation is about Social Security. When two people get married, work 30, 40 years, whatever, they both retire, and unfortunately, one of them passes away. So the living person can draw whichever Social Security between the two is higher. My question is, what happens to that other Social Security? Where does it go? What are they doing with it for the past 40 years?
So you don't get both, Chris? You only get one?
Correct. I'm single.
Okay. Okay, but if you were married, you would have to choose between your former wife or yours. You don't get to take both? Sorry, I don't know that much about it. Yeah.
You can only choose one of the two. And my question is, what happens to the other person's Social Security?
All right.
What are they doing?
Got that. Lakel in Georgia, Republican, you're on the air.
Hi, how you doing, ma'am?
I'm okay.
Lakel?
All right. My top news of the week, it centers around fraud. However, I'm kind of like divergent. It also centers around the national security strategy, which President Donald Trump has proposed amendment to improve and enhance the strategic approach to cyber terrorism, which comes into play with the fraud. I also believe that Joseph Biden is ground and centered towards cyber terrorism, cyber terrorism, with that of the George Bush the George Bush Jr. administration setting precedents. So therefore, within the fraud area, I would also like to add, the home ownership month and commend all homeowners within the United States. However, going back to the fraud, there was an account by a Republican that the Joe Biden administration spent $1 million per year of his, or per month of his administration, equating 36 million of waste, just absent millions of dollars. So why is that not brought to question? And why is President Trump, the MGM Plaza President Trump, the world's, number one man, President Trump, Time Life man, Ivana Trump, now Vice President, First Lady, Sister Melania Trump, be wedded to President Trump.
All right, Lakel, got that. Joseph in Anchorage, Alaska, Democrat. Good morning. What's your top news story of the week?
Yes, hi. This is Joseph Anderson. Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead, Joseph.
Oh, yes, thank you. I'd like to also add what the gentleman spoke of earlier. During the president's request to become president, he said he would lower the prices, and to add that the other gentleman raised the prices now are much higher than when now that he is president, things for the Americans cost more, and working people of America is suffering the most. And I wonder, is President committing a form of treason? And the president swore that he would not do something wrong, but in the Constitution, it says that he would defend America abroad and in America itself. I think the word is domestic.
Okay. Here's John, Bayport, New York, Republican. You're on the air.
Yeah, good morning. Thank you for taking my call. I just want to make a comment about Social Security. The gentleman spoke earlier about his wife passing, I guess, and only getting one income. Just recently, I read in the paper, my local paper, and also a blurb on the bottom of the screen on C-SPAN about how they're going to run out of money in 2032 for Social Security, which is earlier than they predicted. And my question is, I don't understand why Congress has committee meetings about the Epstein files, who most people could care less about, and they don't even talk about Social Security. I don't understand that. And the other comment I'd like to make about why do you give Chuck Schumer so much airtime? He hasn't done anything for New York State, and I think it's time for him to go. And thank you for taking my call.
All right.
Just flying here to Joe in Alaska. I didn't have that one on there. I want to make sure we get it in there.
And this is Jack, Baltimore, Maryland, line for Democrats. Good morning.
Good morning. So there's a few news stories that are noteworthy. One, a judge in Virginia ordered the Trump administration they put a stop to the $1.776 billion slush fund for the treasonous insurrectionists, and they are forcing the judiciary and the Treasury Department to put it in writing that they're going to put a stop to it and to put their names to it. That's one. Two, of course, a judge ordered the Trump administration to remove his name from the Kennedy Center, which is a good thing, which I think has been removed as we speak. Three, I think a top news story is Donald Trump is continuing to con the American people into believing that the Iran war is over, is just around the corner to being over, when in reality it's just possibly the signing of an MOU to continue to negotiate. So the war hasn't ended. It's not ending anytime soon. He's continuing that con. And finally, the Republicans are pushing this con that somehow...
That's our second Maryland caller, because I consider D.C. and Maryland.
The election in California is rigged, which I think is a prelude to what's to come for...
As far as the same type of voter.
For the November midterms. They're going to keep perpetuating this fraud that our election system is somehow rigged whenever they lose. And I think... there's more to come in November with Trump trying to steal the midterms.
And here is Thomas in Honolulu, Hawaii, Republican. Top news story of the week, Thomas.
I look at them all on the aggregate, meaning from week to week. And my comment is more of a cumulative effect of all the headlines we're bombarded with day to day. I think the tide is turning. I'm not the first to think that, but even that sentiment I just expressed is becoming more and more widespread, even amongst your callers, regardless of what line they're calling on. I sense more and more people realize Trump has conned us but he didn't cause all the problems over the last 40 to 50 years that I think have made people so angry. What I call the golden age of the American middle class after World War II for about 30 years started to end in the 70s. And there's a lot of reasons, but a lot of it was intentional. But without belaboring that, we haven't done anything for 40 or 50 years to fight back and restore the golden age of the middle class. Trump came in saying he was going to fix all that, and now people realize he was just the latest con man to come along. Like P.T. Barnum said, previous century, there's a sucker born every minute. I don't mean that. I was one of the people who was sucked in initially, so I'm not making fun of anybody else. But
so when you say initially, when, Thomas, when were you sucked in and why?
There you go. You walked into it there, Tom.
I wanted to
tell us how dumb you are.
And I've said this before. I knew enough.
I voted, just me personally, I voted for Trump to seal the border and to fix things in this country. When he first went into Venezuela, I had no idea. When he went into Iran, I had no idea. But I watch a few more other people. I read a lot. And it starts to make sense when you look at it in a grand scheme of things, in a centuries type thing. Donald Trump is resetting the global economy, which is what globalism and the New World Order and all that stuff, back to the American people. We don't work for the globe. We work for America, is basically my take on it. Like Iran, regime change, get all the nuclear dust. There's so many other good things about that. But really, I think that it was the Strait of Hormuz was the goal. And now that cannot be used as a cudgel against us and to shut us down, or the globe down for that matter. And that's what it was. It's leverage. And if you look at it from Trump's perspective, leverage, maximum leverage. And, and he's crazy. When somebody's crazy, or you think they're crazy, or, just like you walk down the street and you see a crazy homeless guy, you cross the street because you just don't know what that person's going to do. And that's what people are doing with Trump. And all his bluster is for the wider audience. In my opinion, that's just my take, folks, and hopefully
about his background.
That's just what it is.
Like, we all get caught up, it's almost like a ball game, right? You get caught up in the enthusiasm and stuff. And I knew better, but it's taken a long time. I mean, more people who know, I think, less history than I do were sucked in too. So they got a better excuse than I do. I should have known better.
He's so bad that he's beat the entire political class, the establishment class. He's reset the table in so many different ways. But if you don't want to see it or can't see it, and we'll see after the first or the second 4 years here. That's going to be the tail of the tape. But that's what we're here for. I'm into all this stuff. Yeah.
But anyway, I'm happy to say I'm seeing it from all sides now, and that gives me hope that this the poisonous polarization in the country, which is driven in part by the media because it's very profitable for them to divide us. If we realize that we're being divided on purpose and being encouraged to blame each other for our problems, if we stop that and realize we're being manipulated by what I call the American demo-publican ruling class, and they're making money at it while getting us to blame each other, if we finally unite and see through that, I have hope that things will change for the better, and it'll be for we the people.
So how do you do that, Thomas? When you mention the media specifically and that it is profitable, how do you, everybody would have to stop watching those channels that you're saying are dividing us and therefore they wouldn't be able to sell advertising because there's nobody watching.
Exactly. And social media is even worse because their algorithms are programmed to find out whenever somebody has a bias, they'll feed you more and more of the same information. That also polarizes us even more, but it's profitable because it keeps people online longer.
That's what we think. We don't ever know because nobody has access to that. And I believe that's proprietary information. But you don't have to look at it. You don't have to grab the phone. You don't have to doom scroll.
And that sells more advertising. So you're absolutely right. All the media are complicit in this. You guys are less so because you're nonprofit.
What do you mean less so? Like, you should say not at all, Thomas. Come on. All right, let's talk to Steve, independent line in Louisiana. Good morning.
Yes, good morning. I'm 65 years old, and I'm independent. I've lived a good life, and gas prices. I just looked it up because I saw Chuck Schumer saying that the prices are out of control, which, yes, they are roughly, but they're not record price. In June of 14th of 2022, the gas price national average was $5.01. That's highest ever. Blamed on COVID. Supply chain and
COVID disruptions and the war in Ukraine. Correct.
Yeah. Well, with them saying right now that it's record prices, they're already coming down now, and I just don't understand. We need just common sense and just we can't get together if we're constantly being told to stay apart. I mean, I just don't understand.
And this is Lydia calling us from the Virgin Islands. Democrat, good morning.
Yes, good morning. And thanks for having me. I am 73 years old, and I am a retired educator. And the story of the week for me is that it was the gall of Trump administration to place his name on top of that Kennedy Center. I am glad that they removed his name from there because I was in 5th grade when President Kennedy was assassinated, and every state mourned President Kennedy. He was well loved by everyone. And another thing that I want to say, the appointee that Trump appointed, Robert Kennedy, he should be ashamed of himself. His father, too, was assassinated in 1968. If anybody's name should go up on that Kennedy son, it should have been Robert Kennedy and John F. Kennedy, not Trump.
All right, Lydia, let's talk to Stephen
Lydia.
in Massachusetts,
Enjoy the Virgin
Republican
Islands.
line. Good morning, Stephen.
Hi, good morning. How are you today?
Good, thanks.
I just want to add to something that someone from Nebraska called about 7:35 this morning. He talked about the 2.8 inflation that we received. I'm on disability. I live in housing, which is disability housing, okay? And this is from Republicans, independents, anybody that's on this, and they collect food stamps. Here's this, and this has been happening 5 times so far. The 2.8, I received $42. Now, that $42 from the federal government is supposed to help me because of inflation. Am I correct? Yes, I am. Housing went up $18 on my bill, on my rent. Food stamps took $22 off my food stamps. That's a total of $40 that I lost. So all I got was $2. Now, I'm from Massachusetts. I don't know how other states do it. That's all I wanted to say.
So, Stephen, I want to flag for you something on CNBC that just got put out yesterday. that says the Social Security COLA, that's the cost of living adjustment for 2027, may jump to 4.7%. One estimate finds this chart shows prices driving the increase. So it says that Social Security beneficiaries may see a higher cost of living adjustment in 2027 because of inflation. And that COLA is calculated using a subset of the Consumer Price Index for urban wage earners and clerical workers. It says new estimates indicate that it could range anywhere from 3.8% to 4.7%. So definitely take a look at that article if you'd like to get more information.
Only people,
That's at CNBC.
Republicans from Massachusetts.
Here is Julius in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, independent. Hello, Julius. What's your top news story of the week?
I would just like to reach out to Stephen and just be clear with him, Stephen, that your government does not care about you. They care about trillionaires like Elon Musk. They want him to have tax cuts, and they are going to tax the American people out of existence. They love war. War is profitable. They love the Iran war. It definitely is not over. There was a caller earlier that said that this fake peace deal, nobody wants peace in this country. They all want endless war, and especially Israel does not want peace. And so, yes, there will be an escalation. We'll probably blame them for will violate the ceasefire and do stuff. Meanwhile, our debt is growing to, $39-40 trillion. I believe Trump is responsible for about 25% of that. And make no mistake, I state that as a fact. I can't stand Democrats, I can't stand Republicans, and I can't stand MAGA. I think we need to come together as a country, and we have to realize our class and station. And when we do that, I think we can affect a positive change. We have monopolies. We have horrible C-SPAN and media anti-Semitism. We never, in the last 2-3 years, I haven't heard one time where the media has applied anti-Semitism to the genocide of a Semitic people, the Palestinians. That is anti-Semitism. C-SPAN, shame on you.
Bill in Bryan, Ohio, line for Democrats. You're on the air.
Good morning. I think this week the only story, especially for MAGA, should be Mike Johnson and his declaring Social Security and Medicare are going to be cut next year. I mean, have you played that clip for anybody? I mean, you know about it, right?
Keep going. Is that all you wanted to say, Bill?
Well, no, I got a lot I could say, but I mean, that should be the only story. He said it. We're going to cut Medicare and Medicaid next year. And the guy that just called a couple calls ago said he's on disability. I feel for you. Good luck.
So here is, let me see what I can find on that for you. Social Security fraud. Okay, well, we'll look for it and give you something there, Bill. Arthur in Illinois, Republican line. Go ahead, Arthur.
Hey, good morning. I want to thank you for taking my call. I just want to say I think Elon Musk is doing really great for the country and the world. If you stop and look at what this man has accomplished with all his companies, you stop and say, wow, that's pretty good. Look at all the people he employs. He needs fuel. He needs parts. All these parts have to come from different companies, which employs different people. So the companies and the people in America and in the world, I really think, does a pretty good job. So thank you very much.
Lloyd in Whitestone, Virginia, line for Democrats. Go ahead.
I'm just concerned about AI, the main topic on AI, trying to regulate that, because the problem is it's a lot more to it than we understand. The ones that invented it and the ones that have put it into play, we don't have any idea. The ones that are doing the checking, so we got to have different ways of limiting the AI, because the inventors are definitely going to have the upper hand, and you're always going to have rogue countries that are going to take advantage of the situation. So I think we have to get into it and check it more thoroughly. Look at what's happening with the anonymous vehicles out there on the streets and stuff. There's so much stuff going on, and the
anonymous vehicles.
So it's a lot of stuff that we got to look into on AI, and that's a very serious situation we have to really check out. Thank you very much.
Okay, Lloyd, let me add this to your comments from Axios. This was 10 hours ago, a scoop. Trump administration blocks foreign access to Anthropic's most powerful AI. That's a picture of Anthropic's president, Dario Amodei. It says this, the administration is blocking foreign governments, companies, and individuals from accessing Anthropic's most advanced AI models, leading the company to cut off all customer access altogether. It says the move marks an escalation in Washington's effort to treat cutting-edge AI systems as national security assets. Anthropic now finds itself on a Pentagon blacklist, deeming it too dangerous for the government's own use, and in a Commerce Department licensing regime deeming it too dangerous for foreign use. It says that Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick on Friday sent a letter to Anthropic CEO saying that the Mythos 5 and Fable 5 models would be subject to export controls to any location outside of the U.S. and to all foreign persons within the country. Axios has that reporting. And we'll talk to Gary in Ocala, Florida, Republican. You're on the air, Gary.
Yeah, good morning. I was just two questions I'd like to ask for anybody to call it and answer it. They were talking about the Social Security might be cut 1 or 2 years from now. Some of the people have been paying in the Social Security since the 60s. Only problem I have with the Social Security, I think you have more people collecting Social Security that actually put money in Social Security, because some people that never worked before gets $800 and $900 a month. They didn't put one dime in there. So I want to know who came with this idea. If you didn't have no income or you was really poor, that you can go on a Social Security. Won't they give it to them out of a separate pot? Because most people don't get Social Security checks. They put money in there by working. You work when you start working when you're 20, then you get 75. They tell you ain't got enough money. So what happens to the money that you paid in there for yourself? How can I put all this money in Social Security and I work 50 years out of my life and then you tell me we have to cut it? Another question is on this gas problem and prices going up. When I was little, gas was 23 cents a gallon. Nothing's going to stay the same. If you sit on them boards and you put your money and invest it in there, you're not going to vote for the gas to go down. You're going to vote for you get more for your profits.
All right, Gary. So some more information for you and what the previous caller was saying. So here's the Washington Post. The headline of the article says this: Social Security shortfall expected to accelerate with funds at critical low in 2032. And it says that the
just in time
shortfall
for
will
my
be
retirement.
driven in part by a drop in immigration and Trump's tax cuts, the trustees say, resulting in trimmed benefits. Now, here's what Speaker Mike Johnson said. This is what the caller was bringing up. Mike Johnson suggested Monday that he would release a plan next year to address ballooning entitlement spending leading to Democratic attacks. Here's his quote. The reason we are in trouble is because over 74% of federal spending is on autopilot, mandatory spending. That's your entitlement programs like Medicare, Medicaid, and then things like Social Security. They have to be adjusted and fixed. That's what the speaker told a Louisiana radio station. You can find out more at the Washington Post if you'd like to read that article. And Mary in Nevada, Democrat, you're on the air. What's your top news story of the week?
Boy, oh boy, there's like a handful of them, but I'm looking at Mike Johnson right now, who claims to be standing some moral high ground. And if you want to know what he's about, just, it's about his Bible, his Christian nationalist Bible. Please, people, go on Wikipedia and look up Christian nationalism. I believe the Dominion, the Seventh Dominion or something, they're going after every single one of those things. Media is being brought up by Trump advocates. He's got like 14 billionaires in his office. Musk, yeah, he's a visionary. But also let's remember that Trump allowed him to go into our government and dismantle it. That's why we don't have... It's not science founded anymore. We got Ebola on the rise. You got the screwworm, where we're going to end up paying for it because beef prices are going to soar. Iran is just a mess. That's another profit-making business. It's all, he gets money. Musk gets subsidies and stuff too from our government. Now he's probably stronger than our government now. We're looking at we're on the cusp of Russia 1905. Oligarchs and a monarchy. Everything's pay for play. Everything. The cage fighting. How much money is going to be made off of that?
All right, Mary. Here's Renee, Fort Worth, Texas, Independent. You're on the air.
Yes, I can't understand how we don't have money for daycare. They're trying to cut Social Security. I put my money in when I work into Social Security. It's not an entitlement. It's my money. But I wish they would stop getting that confused. And what about this economy? And Trump just said it's okay. We're going to have he's redoing the White House because we're on the best in the world. And we got the best military in the world. And he wants more money, but forget about the people that have needs. He just lies. He just lies in your face. You better not ask him why he's lying, because he just lies and says it's going to be next week. It's going to be on the weekend. He's been saying that for months now. And it's okay. Nobody holds him accountable for anything. It's Trump. That's just the way he is. He can say whatever he wants to say. He can disrespect anybody, call everybody stupid, and he just lies. He doesn't know what he's doing. He's just making money. He's not coming back.
And later in the program, we'll be taking a look at how women have fared in positions of political power worldwide with the Council on Foreign Relations, Linda Robinson.
All right,
She's author
that
of the
was
book,
it
Women
for...
in Power, Fighting for Democracy in an Age of Authority.
All right, that was it for... I don't know what I'm doing. All right. Take a minute to stretch.
Watch America's Book Club, C-SPAN's bold original series, Sunday, with our guest, national journalist and author Lois Romano. Her best-selling book on Mary Todd Lincoln, an inconvenient widow, reveals the life of a first lady who navigated personal turmoil and public scrutiny during one of the most consequential...
Open Forum 2 should be coming up here in a second, so let's go.
And is best known for her in-depth coverage of American political culture. She joins our host, renowned author, and civic leader, Dave.
All right, yeah.
On Iran, it says this U.S.-Iran peace deal could be finalized within 24 hours. That's according to Pakistan, who is mediating talks between the two sides. Let's go to calls now to Dan, Byrdstown, Tennessee, Democrat. You're on the air.
Good morning, Mimi.
Morning.
I was wondering, did you get your tickets to tomorrow's UFC fight yet?
I am not going, Dan.
I have some words of wisdom for my fellow boomers and Generation X and even millennials, Gen Zs and Generation Alpha and even Generation Beta nowadays. These will eventually pertain to you, but these are words I want to read. When people get old, they don't change their minds, they just die. So if you want to have progress in society, you've got to make sure that people need to die because they don't change their mind. Mimi, those aren't my words. Those are words of Elon Musk. Now, here's some other words of wisdom from our billionaire board of directors that are now running the government. Not our government, but they are. And I guess over the weekend, Mr. Bezos is he's proclaiming we're going to have a labor shortage from AI. We've got Alex Karp the other day saying he's preaching nationalism. I don't know what kind of nationalism he's preaching, but I want to know what kind of nationalism, huh? Let's see. We've got...
So Dan, can I update people on UFC?
Settle down, Dan.
Since you started with that. So this is CNN,
Settle down, Dan.
and it says the judge rejects bid to stop USC fight at the White House. It says that a federal judge rejected a request from 2 Virginia residents to block President Trump from hosting a UFC fight at the White House this weekend. And that was a decision came in a case brought last weekend by 2 people in Virginia who argued the privately run event cannot be lawfully held at the White House's South Lawn or the Lincoln Memorial, where other aspects of it are expected to take place Friday before the main event on Sunday. Again, main event happening tomorrow. And this is Galen in Aurora, Colorado, Independent.
Hi, Mimi. This is my first time even approaching this subject, but I just looked at your broadcast with the Pfizer gentleman, and I had one question regarding the security of these warrants. I hope in the light of what's happened over the last 5 to 6 years related to the Pfizer court, that we do find some means of accountability. And since we understand now that there has been a change in the Pfizer court, who overlooks the false information that the judges are having to account for, things in which turn out later to be false investigations that they signed off on? That's my concern about how we account for the judges that agree with all the investigators. And I'd like to just get an answer one day from our government officials when they discover that there's wrong information that judges have allowed the investigators to present to them, and then, of course, turn out that this information is false. Where's the accountability with these federal judges? That's my...
All right, and this is Eugene, Salt Lake City, Utah, Democrat. Good morning.
Yeah, hi. I tried to get tickets to the White House lawn thing, and I'm a veteran, and I couldn't seem to secure any tickets. So I think it's just another grift that he's doing, and, to try to get more cash. What's your thoughts?
Let's talk to Bruce in Chicago, Republican. You're next.
Yes, ma'am. Hold on. Let me mute this baby. I just was wondering, the guy that was worried about billionaires running the country, I wonder if he would rather have would-be millionaire communists like Bernie Sanders, who never turned the tap in his life running the country, or somebody who made money in the real world. Just a thought. I think we're better off having people that aren't steeped in congressional graft running the country. Thank you.
And Cheryl in North Carolina, Independent. Hi, Cheryl.
Hi, Mimi. How are you today?
Good, thanks.
I just wanted to say something about the statements that have been made about Social Security. We see our lovely speaker, Mike Johnson, say that 74% of spending is going toward what they call entitlements. Okay, Roosevelt set up those programs as a trust. The trust buys United States savings bonds. Those bonds then help to finance the government. If the Congress was not spending like a drunken sailor, then 74% would not be going back to the trust for Social Security and Medicare and Medicaid. That is why they want to privatize these programs, because they want this money with no strings attached to go to Wall Street, and then they can... It's just, if people would simply research the programs, the bonds are a way of funding the government just like they funded the government in World War II. And people don't explain this, and obviously a lot of people out here do not research these programs, and they just let these politicians say anything they want to say. And I'm tired of it.
All right, Cheryl, let's talk to Ellen next in Ohio, Democrat. Hi, Ellen.
This is, I'm hearing so much about this funds that they're sending to and Trump and Blaze think they can still get it through. But I don't hear anybody tell about when that riot was going on, that the president had asked the vice president to go, and he said he could keep them from certifying the election. And when the vice president wouldn't do it, isn't that awful? I can't remember his name.
Mike Pence, Ellen.
Mike
Thanks,
Pence,
Ellen.
yeah.
Yep.
When Pence wouldn't do it, then
The gallows had a sign that says, "This is art." It also was about 5.5, 6 foot tall and made of 2x4s brought in on a wagon. Wasn't a gallows.
the rioters were coming after that man.
We'll show that in the daily breakdown.
Pence and all the others were trying to get to someplace safe, and they were chasing them with a noose. They were going to hang Mike Pence, and when he wouldn't do it, then Trump, when he was after.
Nobody was near Mike Pence with a noose at any point in time.
Trump just stood there with shrugged shoulders and said, well, he wouldn't follow my orders. He wouldn't do his job. So when they were hunting them down to try to hang him, Trump wasn't concerned at all. He was going to let them hang him because he would not do what he told him to do. I've lived with this for so long, and I can't understand why it's never brought up. The way he was wanting Pence to be killed, and that's all I got to say. It just drives me crazy every time I see them think about giving them all that money.
All right, Ellen, and on that fund, it says Politico says judge extends block on Trump's anti-weaponization fund. It says that the judge said she'll likely dismiss a lawsuit over the project if top officials formally kill it. It's
what the fuck does
that
a
was
judge
a hearing
have to do
from
with this?
Friday in Alexandria, Virginia. Stan in Cumming, Georgia, Republican. You're on the air.
Unbelievable.
Yes, I would dearly love for someone to explain to me what Section 702 of FISA exactly is. Thank you.
So we can do that. We can put that on the screen for you. We did that in the last section, caller, but we can go over it real quick. Allows intelligence agencies to conduct warrantless surveillance of non-citizens based outside the U.S. Some U.S. communications can appear in collections if Americans are talking with non-U.S. citizens overseas. Data collected is stored for years in a searchable database that intelligence agencies can tap as part of other investigations. That is FISA Section 702 that has lapsed as of midnight last night. Dan, Loganville, Georgia, Independent, you're on Open Forum.
Yeah, I'd like to say that I think that the news media there's something wrong with y'all. There is so much going on here, but you want to divert everything on the other side of the world except what happens here in the United States. Around me, I'm in Athens, Georgia. There is a college, and everybody walks around in a stupor looking at a phone. I don't know what it means to you, but it's almost like they have lost their mind. And all you do is divert everything about everything in this world into some other part of the countries, other countries.
You would rather us talk about people and their phones, like smartphones?
Why are they looking at a phone instead of talking to each other?
Okay.
Come on, Dan.
Larry in Southport, North Carolina, Democrat. Good morning.
Good morning, Doc. Good morning to you. I'm calling in general, I guess, about. I just want to know where the Democrat voters were when Democrats were Biden, Obama.
Larry? Looks like we lost Larry. Lois Moorhill, Minnesota, Democrat. You're on the air.
Hi, actually, it's Moorhead, Minnesota.
Moorhead.
Yes, I read that there's a law about selling things on federal lands, and I'm wondering how Trump is getting away with all the merchandise he's selling, T-shirts of himself and coins at the UFC thing, and also the $1.5 million ticket packages that he's selling for the UFC fight.
You know, I don't know anything about that, but we'll look it up. You're concerned about the ticket price and the merchandise.
I'm concerned about Trump just making money off of whatever he can. And I'm just wondering if that's legal.
Okay. I'm not sure about that, to be honest, Lois. Let's talk to Tyrone, Montgomery, Alabama, Republican. Good morning.
No, ma'am. I'm independent.
You're independent?
Hello.
Did you call on the right line?
Yes, I'm independent. Yes, I did. I think I did. I could be mistaken. But yes, my question is, when is Congress going to start doing its job? The power of the purse. The other thing is, why do we keep voting against our own risk? We vote Republican each and every time, and the first thing they do is give the money to the billionaires. The average Joe never received any type of anything. Medicare, Social Security, they want to take away from us. Why is that? Someone please answer that question for me.
And Jerome, Illinois, Democrat. Good morning. Sorry, Jeremiah. I can't get
Okay,
this.
hello.
Hi, Jeremiah. You're on the air.
Okay. Real quick. Ebola is here in the United States because it's going to make COVID look like the flu. It is going to spread after the midterms because it's going to be released. That's one. Two, we have reinstituted slave states. The gerrymandering is no more than slave states. That's going to happen. And people are accepting the slave state mentality.
And Arthur, in New Hampshire, a Republican. You're on the air.
Thank you very much. I had two questions. I want to echo a previous caller that was asking why Congress isn't doing their job. Whenever I go into a bookstore every week, there's a congressman or a senator coming out with a book. So if they have time to write books, they should have time to do their jobs for the American people. That's the first question I had. The second comment that I had is in regards to a lot of the commercials I'm seeing for supplements and everything that pretend to help with the brain or this, and yet there's a disclaimer down the bottom that says, this has not been approved by the FDA and has not been, you should not be used to treat, cure, or do anything with any kind of disease. Yet we allow these things to happen. Those are my two comments that I had. Thank you very much.
All right. And I do have some information for you for the previous caller about the UFC fight and the money that is being made there. This is MS Now. So this is an article that says how Trump and his allies could profit from the UFC fight at the White House. It says the president bought stock in UFC's parent company before announcing the fight, designed branded medallions for sale, and is holding a $1 million per plate fundraiser the night before. So that is at MS Now if you'd like to take a look at that and get more information. Joseph, Media, Pennsylvania, Independent Line. Good morning.
How you heading them?
Hello?
Are you there?
Yes, go right ahead.
Okay, I was just wondering about the stuff that's in the sky. What are they finding out there? Now, they just had to find 4 of them. How come that ain't the main thing on the news?
What stuff have they found up in the air, Joseph?
You got to be kidding me, right? Now, you have to be watching the news.
Okay.
UFO!
Eric in Minnesota, line for Democrat. Good morning.
Yes, I think it's very interesting that they're trying to
panic the populace about the loss of FISA, and administration circles are happy to dispense the word that is a panic situation. And that has to be viewed in context of what the administration has done. They fired the entire counterintelligence staff. They tried to put a flunky real estate.
That guy knows exactly what happened. Who's this? Eric from Minnesota.
Developer in charge of
Tim
our
Waltz
intelligence
voter.
department.
Wait, Eric, you sent me a text, didn't you, about that?
Yes, I did.
Yeah, and
Yes,
I read
did.
that. I did read that on the air. Did you miss that?
Well, it needs to be rethought over and over. Is that intelligence comes in through FISA? Who's reading it? Are they quality people?
All right. And regarding space, let's take a look.
Eric gets what we're going to call a rare double here. He had a text read on screen by the host, so it was aired and broadcast, and then he also got a call in, so I call that a double. Now, the only thing better than that would be a triple, which is you would get your social media post read, get a call answered, and then they would read your text. I mean, that's about as close as I think you can get to having 3 mentions per show. So that's
At this portion from Tuesday, this is a portion of remarks
That's what I watch
delivered
for.
by American Randy Bresnick. He has been announced as Artemis 3's mission commander.
We'd also like to thank NASA leadership and our ESA leadership for the opportunity to represent all of humanity from this spaceship Earth that we will carry forward into the Artemis as we execute this Artemis mission, extending human spaceflight into the future and exploring the cosmos. Now, spaceflight is hard, and that's why the most important Artemis mission will always be the next Artemis mission, where we are doing flight tests on every single flight, incrementally determining the flight envelope, expanding it, proving out capabilities, and making the operational procedures that we have more and more precise. Because every single mission we will do after this will be more challenging and more complex. We are certainly humbled as a crew to be able to be your crew that executes this Artemis 3 mission in space, being that unifying link between the phenomenal Artemis 2 mission we just had 2 months ago and the Artemis 4 mission that will follow ours, where we will again be the first to land humans on another celestial body, that celestial body being our neighbor in the sky at night, the moon.
That's so cool.
That's the Artemis
So
3 mission
cool.
commander. Let's talk to Eileen in
That's so cool.
Plano, Texas. Independent. Good morning.
Good morning, and thank you very much for taking my call. I was just thinking about the Elon Musk, our first trillionaire in the world and in our country. And the thing that disturbs me the most is I'm a capitalist. I really believe that you pull yourself up from your bootstraps and awesome, go for it. But in this case, we have now 1% of Americans that control 30% of the wealth. 1%. And 90% of Americans control about 34% of the wealth. And we look at how this money was achieved. I mean, most of the government contracts that Elon received used to go to colleges for research and everything else. And now they go to a person in a private company, and the money is just absolutely crazy. And I don't know, I just, then we say, well, you know what? We need to bring in all these brilliant minds from all parts of the world. And now we're fighting about immigration because I guess it's not that type of person you want to bring in. We bring in people from, like Elon from South Africa, one side of South Africa.
The only time they hate an African American.
But on the other side, we don't want those guys from Africa. So, this inequality, nobody's talking about it, and it's just really disturbing to me that this election, he was able to pump $200+ million into it.
Kamala lost $1 billion in 100 days, probably more than that, with also add in the shared media and just give me a break.
He's going to have so much power. Literally, he can buy any election he wants going forward. So that's my issue for the week. It's just the concentration of wealth, and we're just leaving so many people behind. The gap is just getting extremely wide between the working class and the now trillionaires. That's my beat.
And Eileen, there's in the review section of the Wall Street Journal, there's this article titled "The Invention of the Trillionaire. The Gilded Age Titans did more than build railroads. They paved the way for the reinvention of the stock market and the creation of runaway wealth." That's at the Wall Street Journal. And Mike, Houston, Texas, Republican, you're next.
Good morning.
Morning.
Hi. About the trillionaires and the wealth and such, I want more of them. I want more billionaires and more trillionaires because they are the people who create jobs. I've heard yesterday that Elon Musk has created 400 millionaires. And just imagine the number of millionaires he's created. Now, if we want to take him and send him out of the country, tell him go do that somewhere else, what is that all about? I mean, he gets audited. The IRS is, we have 87,000 extra IRS agents. If there's a problem with what he's doing, then the IRS is charged to take care of those things. He is creating wealth and innovation. He has that the Starlight system for communication.
Starlink.
SpaceX, he rescued. Yep. Starlink. Yes. These are great innovations. Space is the next frontier. And I don't understand hostility that comes, a reflexive hostility that comes from so many, usually on the left, almost always on the left, where they just really want to define what success should be and when it ends. And I'm sorry, 50% of the income earners in the United States, the bottom 50% pay almost no income taxes. It doesn't mean they're bad or whatever. They might be the start of their careers. And what happens is there's economic mobility. People move up. Thomas Sowell has written about this 100 times.
So, Mike, I want to show, this is from the Economic Times. I think this is what you were referencing. It says, Elon Musk created 4,400 millionaires in just 24 hours. How SpaceX's historic IPO changed welders, technicians, and cafeteria workers' lives overnight.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and that's, I think it's fantastic. I mean, why do we have such hostility towards wealth? The people who are at the bottom rungs of society almost never stay there. We want to help people who cannot help themselves. But, you have to have employers for people to gain skills. One other stat, just to know, that the younger generation, the first jobs that people would assume in their lives, the youngest generation, the 18 to 25-year-olds, do not have jobs they used to have.
All right.
So they're like...
Let's talk to Deborah, Aberdeen, Maryland, Democrat. Good morning, Deborah.
Yes, good morning. Two subjects. First of all, I want to talk about taxes. It's amazing
Another
to
Maryland
me
call.
how the very rich do not have to pay any taxes, and people like me have to pay taxes. And I get letters all the time about interest rates and everything like that. But it is what it is. I will pay my taxes. The other subject is the millionaire, the trillionaire. I don't know if I had the right information, but when Musk gets all this power and all this stuff, it was fixed up in the system where he didn't have to really fight for or, get a quote from other companies. It was given to him almost like fixed up. So to me, it's almost like he really didn't earn this. It was given to him by getting it fixed up with the government, his points of contact, And that is why I think I'm upset about how he's
made SpaceX from scratch. I mean, he pioneered landing rockets and then reusing rockets, and now he's catching them. I mean, the size of this starship, it's unbelievable what this guy does, and these people hate it. It's pathological decline.
gotten to be trillionaires. It doesn't matter to me that he's fixing up where other people making a million from him, millions from him. But when where I work at, when you fight or you have to get quotes and it's given to you, he's been given.
All right, Deborah, got that point. Frank,
Whatever,
Safety
Deborah.
Harbor, Florida, Independent, you're on Open Forum.
Good morning. Thank you for taking my call. I'm just wondering what Jane Fonda's thinking when she was in the trenches of North Vietnam watching the American planes being shot down. But let's jump a little further. Look at South Korea, okay? And look at South Vietnam. South Korea, the people are now living longer. In the industry, you look at the automobiles and the engineering they're pumping out.
This is my neck of the woods. I live maybe 20 miles from here, right there in that little spit, right there in the middle of Tampa Bay.
You know why? Because we fought for it against communism. And Jane Fonda should put on just a regular communist hat. I'd love to see her there. She represents nothing for freedom. Look at South Korea. North Korea is in the dumps. They can't even take care of their kids' teeth. And these people are talking about the rich would still be in the caves with some of these older people calling in, the rich, the rich, the rich.
Amen.
You know what? America is too jealous of what's going on. They're on the bottom half not thinking. Where are they getting their information from?
All right, Frank. And that does it for Open Forum. Coming up next, Council on Foreign Relations, Linda Robbins.
Okay, holy cow. Woo. There's Mimi's card. Wrong button. Struggled streaming. Holy cow, what do we got? An hour and a half plus in the can here. Oh, all right. We got a lot of data on this one. Look at this. 44 calls, 22 different states, 30 unique cities. I mean, look at them all over here. And I'm going to fix this map. So we got Alaska over here. The Virgin Islands was in there, and I just couldn't get that fixed while we were doing the recording. And then I'm going to get rid of all the flags here, or have a button so I can trigger them. And we'll just probably have just the pins and names, but it's a pretty good batch. Pretty good batch of calls. I like that because that's going to go into our big map totals on the daily breakdown. And make sure you go and watch that. And we'll have a bunch more that we can add to this show. A lot of rebuttal stuff. But if you made it all the way to the end of this, I really appreciate it. I highly doubt that somebody watched this, but if you did, like, subscribe, share, and let me know that you did watch this to the end, because that'll be the proof. Thanks. We'll see you on the next review and on the daily breakdown. That will be 005 for this episode. Thanks for watching again.